Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Meyer. I'm a co-founder of An Event Apart. And that's all I really want to say about myself. I want to introduce Stephanie Stimac, who is a brand new speaker at An Event Apart. And so well, first of all, super excited about that. Hi, Stephanie.
Hello.
Hi. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah. So again, my name's Stephanie. I am a program manager at Microsoft. Well, sorry, there's been a title change. I'm a product manager now on the developer experiences team for Microsoft Edge. I just celebrated my 6th anniversary there this week. But I'm also a designer, so I went to school for design and have spent the first part of my career building websites and designing all sorts of different things. And I've been in love with building for the web, I think, since the early 2000s when I was poking around with HTML and CSS. So I've always sort of loved design.
So 20 years of web now.
Yep.
Nice. How does that feel?
Unbelievable to me,
Yeah.
quite frankly. It feels weird saying like 20 years. It's
Yeah.
been 20 years.
Yeah. That is a little weird. So where did you study design?
I went to Western Washington University up in Bellingham.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Very nice. I know a couple people from up there.
Yeah.
And did you have a particular thing that you like, particular type of design?
Yeah. So when I was up there, they had 3 different types of design programs. So they had a production program for like packaging, and then traditional graphic design, like logo design and branding. And then they called it new media design. And we sort of touched on everything from video production to the web. And I was the time period in which I was in that program, we spent a good chunk of time learning how to build websites in Flash.
Okay.
And then I graduated, and about a year later, all that action script became obsolete and Flash websites sort of died. So that was perfect timing.
Well, you still miss Flash? It's okay if you do.
I miss I mean, the web has come quite a long way. I do miss sort of like the ability to like just sort of draw and place things and make it interactive. And I feel like we've come quite a long ways since then.
Yeah, that's true. And I noticed that we have more visual tools of that kind starting to develop. And not just for drawing pictures, but even for like assembling workflows or assembling scripts of sorts. It's been interesting to see that kind of thing happen. But yeah, it's funny. I talked to a number of people that I talked to who are used to do Flash. Val Head comes to mind, but there are others. There's always sort of Flash was really inaccessible. It wasn't very web-like, but God, it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And that's fair. I don't, not gonna Flash shame, basically.
Yeah.
But so now you've been at Microsoft, you said, for just over 6 years now. What's that been like?
It has been really fantastic, personally and professionally. What's interesting is when I started, so I was hired in as a quote unquote program manager, but I was still doing design work in the first couple of years. And so I was still like managing our developer portal. I worked on a project called WebHint and did the design for all that. And then there sort of came like a point where I started to do like more product focused work and not so much design work. And then I sort of had to pick, like, do I want to go work on the Edge design team and continue to do that work, or do I want to go down this product management path, and I chose the product management path because it just seems so much more, the problems seem a little bit larger, and I can still affect design, but I feel like on a sort of bigger scale. And so I've really enjoyed it, and I've sort of fallen into this role where I love working with developers and finding out like what their pain points are, and then working with multiple teams to solve that. And so it's been very fulfilling. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome. What's a pain point either you solved recently or you're working on now that you can talk about?
So you're familiar with the Web We Want initiative.
True.
There was a pain point that was submitted. Gosh, this was pre-pandemic. But someone wanted a developer tool for like source order viewer in the browser dev tools.
Okay.
And we took that, and I think that won at an event as like something that developers said they wanted. And so we ended up taking that, and the developer tools team implemented that and put it into the browser dev tools. And for me, it's just cool. Like if I was a developer and not super and didn't work like on a browser, to have a browser take my idea and implement that, like I'd feel really excited about that. And so I know they were, but that's one example.
Yeah, I was going to ask, did you get back in touch with them and say, oh, by the way, that was your suggestion?
They actually, if I remember correctly, we looped them into the process of building it and continued to like get their feedback and sort of work with them. And then they ended up writing a whole blog post on it once it was live.
Nice.
So
I'm going to have to get you to send me that blog post.
Okay, I will.
Cool. So, yeah, so your job is to figure out how to make developers' lives easier.
Yep.
And then make their lives easier. So say a little bit more about what we want. And
yes. So I run this initiative called the Web We Want, and I work with Eric and some folks at Google and Mozilla, and then Microsoft, and then we have someone from Salesforce also in that steering committee. But the initiative is really focused on identifying pain points and things that developers or people who work on the web, it's not necessarily specific to just web developers, but things that would make their jobs easier for building on the web.
And how do people let you know?
So they can go to our website, webwewant.fyi, or to our GitHub repo, and there's a form you can fill out. So like if you have a developer tool you want, or let's say there's something missing in CSS that you don't have, but you think should exist in CSS, you basically write us basically a feature spec about what this thing is that you need, what it does, and what problem you're trying to solve. And and then folks can go and upvote those wants either on GitHub or the website to indicate they also want those things. So yeah.
So someone goes to webwewant.fyi. Like the easiest way to do it is go to webwewant.fyi and fill out the little form. But if someone who's super fluent in GitHub might find it easier to just open an issue in GitHub. Same thing either way though, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then you can get all your Twitter followers to come upvote your thing. like we used to do in bug trackers. It was like, hey, I just found this bug. If you also hate it, go. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Yeah, no, that's cool. So you're going to be speaking at Spring Summit, which is next month, April 18th. And your talk is about dual screen design.
Yep.
So like I have a laptop and a monitor. Is that what you're talking about, or is this something else?
No, and I can show you. I have one right here.
Awesome.
So when we talk about dual screen or foldables, we're talking about a device that actually there are two viewports and they are connected either by a hinge. Well, they're connected by a hinge, but some of them have this like what do we call it? The fold is sometimes obscures the viewport, like we have here, or there are foldable devices where you can't actually see the hinge and it's all one screen. Wow. But we're talking about one device that folds.
Okay.
When we talk about foldables, I will say though, there is a working group that is going to start exploring a similar sort of concept with what they've done with the dual screen CSS media features, and sort of looking at how we could have a monitor and a laptop and how we can adapt layouts based on that. But that's to come. That's like even further in the future.
So you're telling me that we spent 25 years telling everyone that on the web there is no fold, and now on the web there is a fold.
Yes, there is indeed.
On a bunch of different folds, in fact, because different devices, I assume, have different resolutions and aspect ratios, and some of them can only fold part way probably, and others can do like you were just showing, where it can go like a full 180 degrees and you can't even see both displays at the same time. Like, so you said there are media queries. There are media queries for this?
Yes, there is. So there are two media queries, and when you so I'll give an example. So when let's say you open up your device like this, there's a media query that says when your device is in the vertical fold posture. So vertical fold. Serve up these styles for that posture. And then there's another one that says like when your device is in the horizontal fold position, serve up these styles. And they've also, the team that worked on this also introduced some CSS environment variables that target each viewport. And so like one of the examples that I am going to go over in my talk next month actually uses CSS grid and those environment variables to define the columns. So I have an environment variable that says, I want one whole container to be this entire viewport and be one grid column. And then on my other viewport, I split it up into like 3 different columns, and it's just a couple lines of CSS. But that's how I get to split up my content across the 2 different viewports.
Okay. Buzz, percolate, wow, mind blown. I hadn't looked this far into this kind of stuff. So when you say you're not flowing content from one side to the other, like
no, we're not.
Okay, because I was like, wait, is this like regions? Did regions come back? But not quite.
Yeah, no. So again, like the example that that I'll go over in that talk, it's grid, and so I'm like very explicitly placing my content within the columns and rows. But then like Flexbox, there's an example I'll go over with Flexbox too, that it has just 3 columns, and you can still use those CSS environment variables to set your flex basis, I think, and just say like, I want this whole column to just fill up this viewport. And it's still just with those, it takes so little CSS to adapt a layout to a dual screen device. And that's what I'm quite excited about.
Yeah, I'm already excited just from the idea. So is media query for when the displays are facing away from each other?
That I don't have an answer for. And what I imagine would happen, and I'm making a wild guess here, I'm unsure, but I would think when you fold it, your viewports are no longer side by side, and so when you're using that media query, it is saying my two viewports are side by side. So we're expecting them to span across both of those, and you can't span across both of those when it's folded. But I'm gonna go test that after this.
Okay, cool. All right, so your talk is on Monday, April 18th. I already want it to be April 18th because I want to know more about this stuff, but we'll have to wait. Other than speaking for an event apart next month, what else you got going on or coming up, I guess is what I'm looking for there.
I have some other talks coming up in May on PWAs and designing PWAs. And then if you are not following me on Twitter, I am also very close to being done writing a book called Design for Developers. And hopefully within the next year that should be coming out. So I've got 4 chapters left, but
the book writing slog.
Yes.
It's not always a slog though, is it?
It's been an experience. I feel very humbled by it. I thought I know design and I know developers, and I thought it would be almost like writing some very long form blog posts, but that has not been my experience at all.
Okay. Well, looking forward to that too. Who's publishing that?
Manning Publication.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so where can people find you on Twitter if they would like to follow you?
You can follow me at Seaotta, which is SEAOTTA. And that's my handle, I think, across most social media except for GitHub. If you want to follow me on GitHub, it's STSTIMAC. But yeah. Okay.
That's cool. All right. So I wish I would love to talk longer, but you've got things to do and we don't want to keep keeping you. So I'm just going to throw in a little promo note. There's 1 week left as of this recording to take advantage of our March special, which sign up for a 3-day pass and you get a free copy of Jason Grigsby's book on progressive web apps, his ebook on progressive web apps. You'll also, I get to see Stephanie's talk on Monday, April 18th about dual screen design, which like I said, I was already kind of looking forward to seeing it, and now I want it to be April 18th already, but I'll have to wait. In the meantime, look for Stephanie on Twitter and around the internets. And Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me.